All right, Chris, I have a big surprise for you, being that you're a big 80s hard rock, big hair band. I've got some new intro music.
Oh, you've been working on something.
So check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Listen very carefully. This is right up your alley, yeah?
Yeah. That is classic.
Coffee at midnight.
Bro.
You love that?
Oh, that is so good.
There you go. Turn it up. Pay attention.
Jam session, where the future comes to scream.
Dude, that is so good.
All right, so I got to tell you where that comes from. So their AI is so amazing. It really is. So there's a new platform application for all of you listening out there called Suno, S-U-N-O.
Okay.
And you just type in a prompt of what you want. So if you want an 80s hairband podcast intro for a podcast about the medical device industry called MedTech Jam Session with Chris and Mike D, it will create for you what you just heard. It's amazing.
That is a classic, man. Everybody's going to know this song by heart before the end of 26.
Yeah. That's our
Singing,
plan.
singing it in their cars. You know, we're going back. We're going back.
Yeah.
But
So
stepping
stay
forward.
tuned. There might also be a 70s, 80s rap version soon. I'm not going to make any promises. We'll run with the 80s hairband for a while.
Okay.
We might have to bust out some old school rap.
I love it. Good job, Mike D and AI.
All right, Chris. Well, Happy New Year to you, and thanks for hanging out again. This is the MedTech Jam Session with Chris and Mike D. And so this is a special episode where we are going to do a quick recap of 25, but also maybe do a few predictions of 2026 before we jump in. We have a lot of great guests lined up for 2026. We had a ball last year.
Yes.
Talking to so many, smart, hardworking in the arena CEOs and founders.
Man, how many did you end up doing last year?
24 maybe.
And that wasn't even a full year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great
so
contribution, Mike D. Love the vision.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Fun. So,
agree.
So let's just do a quick recap in the space that you and I are involved with, med device, specifically orthopedics, spine, musculoskeletal, ortho, neuro, et cetera, sports medicine, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
What would you say are what's the top news story of 2025 as you look back? What was the biggest trend we saw emerge in 2025? You go first and then I'll go.
I mean, the easy answer is going to be we'll say not only introduction, but acceptance of AI at the different levels, within the space, taking, we'll call it enabling technology to another height, possibly giving more promise to the robots, all those kind of things. I feel like that is that was sort of kind of the main headline in your face the whole time. However, I do think that there are some underlying things that are going to be a positive moving forward, whether it be about the way we're trying to address healthcare, the way we're trying to address healthcare insurance, the way we're trying to address elimination and possibly prior authorization, all those kind of things that really have been demoralizing, in my opinion, in this industry for some time. And my hope is that 26, we're going to start seeing these things take root.
All right. So big changes in AI. I agree with you. There have been we've seen tremendous small companies, mid-sized companies utilizing AI, whether it's in their robotics or coding and reimbursement, some of those kind of things, imaging. I think it's been a really good start, and I think we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how the FDA comes along and treats AI.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a give and take between the industry and the FDA. Something I think, as an industry, we'll have to manage very carefully, because it does open up some interesting challenges, but it certainly does create some great opportunities for better patient care and more efficient delivery of care, to your point.
Yeah.
Shorter operative times, better outcomes, all the goodness that comes with that.
Yeah. And I would say too, that I want to challenge everybody relative to the AAOS that's going to be taking place here in just a short period of time, 45 days or so in New Orleans, and to really walk the floor and see who is doing something with AI. And I want to categorize this in two buckets. Okay. Patient engagement and patient performance and outcomes, because those are really the two areas that I see. The patient engagement piece is all the electronic records and all the admin stuff and all the back office stuff, right? That's related to AI and making ASCs and clinics and hospitals run more efficiently. And I get that, and it's an important need. But I get more jazzed about the things that are changing the way the patient experience actually is, from pre-op planning through intra-op utilization to post-op rehabilitation. And that's really, I think, where the rubber's going to meet the road going forward. So I challenge everybody to look, come back and tell us, what did you see that was moving the needle for you?
Yeah, interesting. Let's get into that when we talk about predictions, because I have some thoughts on that. I would say 2025 was a big year of spin-outs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
With J&J announcing their spin-out of their orthopedic business, and then now going back to the Synthes, I assume, being a pure play ortho spine company. And we'll see how that plays out, whether they're going to be privately held, private equity backed, or publicly traded, or maybe they're one and then they go to the other. We'll see.
Yeah.
And I'd say Stryker's, exit of spine to the Viscogliosi brothers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see more of this. Spine in and of itself is reinventing itself, and it's definitively time. There's a lot of movement in this channel because it's not going away. I mean, everybody I thought it was funny back in, I would say the midsummer time and being at different meetings, and people would come up and say, what do you think is going to happen to the spine industry? And I'm like, it's not going away. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, no, it's morphing into the next stage, and it needs to. It needs to technologically. It needs to in the manner of true rethinking, I think, in a lot of regards of disease treatment protocols. Okay, yeah. whether it's degenerative disc disease, or whether it's, does this patient really need a fusion, or whether it's, motion preservation all the way, or whether it's the elements of rehabilitation and regenerative medicine. All those things, it's going to be a new day. We won't recognize this, in my opinion, by 2030.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think spine is going to continue to evolve, and it should. And we've discussed this on a previous episode, and my thesis is that the continued expansion and growth of GLP-1s and the associated weight loss that comes with that is going to impact spine more than any of the other musculoskeletal markets. Mm-hmm. There's not a better way, in my view, of treating a hurt lumbosacral spine injury or degenerative disc or whatever than losing 30 pounds.
And don't just do that. Build your core.
And build your core. So
I mean, I'm taking you back to your beginnings. Yeah, I'm taking you back to your beginnings of the PT days, man. I mean, this is, and
then early intervention procedures, supplementing that as that journey, that patient journey, evolves.
Yes.
to get somebody to a point where I don't need to have a fusion
Right.
or a
That's right.
displacement.
That's right.
You know, I've dropped 30 lbs and I've got my core stronger, and I've managed my pain with some of these more early intervention therapies, and now I'm off to the races. I feel great. So anyway, that's I didn't mean to jump ahead to the prediction in the spine market, but I'm going to kind of stick with that since we talked about that earlier.
It's hard not to, you know, I mean, it's upon us, but keep going. Yeah.
I think the last big thing you alluded to, it was in 2025, but we did see some launches and some M&A. It was a light year for M&A, light year for IPO. One of the big exits was for a robotics company, and we also saw some launches in robotics. So we saw DePuy Synthes with their, I think, spine launch. We saw Stryker Zimmer come out with their shoulder. Smith & Nephew's coming along pretty closely with their shoulder. So I think enabling tech, robotics, we've seen a lot of interesting thoughts, new products in augmented reality.
Yes.
What do you think? Do you think there's a future with augmented reality, or do you think that's a flash in the pan?
Let's put it this way. In some form or fashion, there can be. I think the challenge is that you see pockets of it. You don't see wide acceptance of it. You know, it's sort of like at the end of the day, everybody has to ask themselves, do I really need to put the readers on, or do I need to wait a little while longer? And I'm making a little bit of jest in that, but it's the fact of, you know, so many things around visualization of the patient, in the patient, at the site. You know, I don't know if pulling up a hologram and putting it up here in front of me versus keeping my eyes, you know, on the patient or whatever the case is. I mean, there's tech out there that definitely can add value. I know that. But at the end of the day, it's like, once again, it comes back to the criticalness of how did this change the outcome? That's the question. We've been asking that for the 30 plus years we've been in the industry. Everybody asks that because at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. Yeah.
And I would also argue, or how are you simplifying workflow?
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges with AR is cognitive overload. Like, I'm looking at the exposure, but I've got all this other information and data in my periphery. Plus I've got a headset on. I was once a big fan of AR, and still I'm not throwing shade, maybe a little shade, but I am concerned that it's a technology looking for a solution, you know, looking for a problem solved at the moment. So it could be that the technology needs to mature a little bit more. The heads-up displays need to get a little bit lighter. And the thought process of how is this going to simplify my workflow and not result in sort of cognitive overload so I don't get stuck. It needs to shorten and simplify what I'm doing as opposed to making it more complicated and extending it, even though the tech is super cool.
I totally agree. And the tech is cool, right? And everybody, I think, especially with all the different glasses that come out the years ago that they did, HoloLens and whatever else, there was an expectation of that application in just a massive way in med device. And I think there's got to be the wrestling that has to be done within the organizations that are bringing this has got to be asking that question. What is the end all be all value? Are we changing it to where the surgeon's not having to be so in their head about what they're trying to do? Because that's a lot of what AI can help with. But then on the AR front, is it taking us a step back? I mean, to your point, you know, and so there's a fine balance that's got to be achieved here. I don't see it yet. I think there was a lot of companies that have come out in the last 5, 6, 7 years that people were expecting big things to happen and things of that nature, big exits or whatever the case was. Those things haven't happened yet.
Hi, everybody. Mike Donahue here. As a medtech leader, you know how important it is to hit the ground running when your new product clears FDA. You need to quickly align and equip your field sales team with training, customer targeting, sales assets, and operational resources that will maximize revenue and traction. Well, at Convey Med, we have the app for that. Convey Connect is the mobile-first launch operating system that ensures your field team is clinically confident, culturally aligned, and operationally efficient from day one. With your customized, white-labeled Convey Connect app, your reps can train on the go, access agentic AI to identify ideal customer targets, Query AI agents to provide intelligent answers to clinical and technical questions from your customers. Communicate and engage with both company leadership as well as your teammates in the field, and then just so much more. So if you are interested in learning more about Convey Connect, go to our website, conveymed.io, where you can book a demo and we'd be happy to take you through the app. And now back to the show. Yeah. All right, let's move on to 2026. 2025 is in the rearview mirror. Chris and Mike D are moving on.
Yes. To
All
the
right.
next year.
Let's give me a big prediction for 2026. We're standing here December 31st, looking back. What has just happened?
Yeah. So just in the first 12 days, you've already had one major announcement of an acquisition, Smith & Nephew, picking up Integrity Orthopedics. And of course, we're seeing the money flow again relative to investments in organizations like Nanocon. I really do have an expectation, and I was saying this the second half of 2025, that everybody is beyond ready, and by default, they're ready for change and they're ready for propulsion forward. We've been sitting in this stagnancy for some time, and I call it stagnancy, even though there's been exits, and I've had several of them myself. But it's not the norm. And I've been really, looking forward. I'm thinking about the fact of there is going to be a lot of movement. I think there's going to be good decisions in M&A that are made. I think there's going to be bad decisions in M&A that are made. But nonetheless, decisions to execute. And I think that's one of the big things that we've all missed is that the friction that it causes in the marketplace. I love it because it stirs the pot. It keeps everybody on their toes relative to where their focus is and what their focus needs to be. So I'm still extremely bullish about 2026. I bet that the indications in the first half of the year are going to be very, very strong. And I think a lot of folks that are the industry analysts are feeling the same way, and at least what they're seeing.
So you're saying there's going to be a return of, let's call it the bolt-on acquisition.
Yes. And getting back to 2019 and prior. I mean, it's been a long time coming. Of course, there was so much money in the system in 2021 and 22. That didn't do us any favors because it caused a total drought in 23, 24, and 25. And we got to get back to the basics of what makes the engine move without getting in front of the engine, okay? But letting it be what it needs to be for the ecosystem.
So you think let's say you're right. I hope you are. There are a restoration of bolt-on acquisitions, which means liquidation opportunities for investors.
Mm-hmm.
So then the question is, will they be turning it around and putting money back into the industry and seed and support the next generation of companies, some of which we've interviewed, some of which we will have on the show later this year?
Yeah.
Or will they take those proceeds and invest them outside of the space? I think more traditional software, tech, AI, where there's just so much money going in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's absolutely flooded. And I think let's take that one for a moment as it relates to the we'll call it outside of healthcare, or at least musculoskeletal, and all the money that is going towards AI and things of that nature. We need to be careful. And I'd say this because you're dealing with the technology that's changing so fast that it's not going to be what it was at the end of 2025, at the end of 26 or 27 for that matter. And there's one thing that really reminds me of that, and it was called the .com. And how fast things changed with the internet, how fast. I mean, we watched it. We were part of it.
Yeah.
Right? How fast new technology was becoming available because of more information. And so I hope that this isn't going to be a repeat of that relative to all those folks. But I will say this. I think it would be silly for any investors when they get their take from the different exits that can happen in this coming year. Okay. I hope that they see the trend looking forward to go, there has been such a drought of activity that the opportunity to make hay over the next 3 to 4 years, follow on with what you've already done and do it again into med device.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the space. I'm saying it because this is not going to be short-lived.
Well, I think it's a trend worth watching. I'm going to take the counter because I do think that the opportunities outside of med device, and I hope I'm wrong. Trust me. I hope I'm wrong. The opportunities outside of medical device, at least in the next 12 to 18 months, are so compelling with AI.
Sure.
That it's going to be, we could see a continued slog for the med device companies who are at the seed stage, at the pre-seed stage, seed stage, even Series A stage, where it's just a grind.
One thing I'm hopeful for to that point, okay, we see all the VCs and whatnot shift far to the right and go late stage. That's what we're doing now. Late stage. That's our new identity. All right. They're leaving a vacuum of leadership at the early stage elements of things. And then there's a lot of savvy folks out there, some of which you and I personally know, that are seeing that gap and they're filling that gap from an early stage standpoint. And I think you're going to see a resurrection of early stage investors and early stage funds that are going to fill that void. And a lot of these folks are going to be folks that are savvy to our industry. So it's smart money following smart ideas,
right?
In med device. And so, my hope is that there's a flurry of new organizations like this. I mean, I can think of 5 to 10 right now that I'm aware of that have come in the last 2 years to come full circle with brand new funds for this purpose.
Yeah. I think the venture studio model, and we've had a few companies that have utilized that, have leveraged that, is a great way for an early stage company to get some traction and be capital efficient.
Yes.
And to your point, get the expertise that they may or may not have from studio, resources. So we love that idea. Do you think there's going to be another major spin out announced?
I got a feeling there could be a couple, and some of this could be spine centric. I'm not going to name names necessarily, but there's been, a lot of scuttle about that. And spine redefines itself. And I would say the ongoing greater acceptance of the interventional radiologists coming into the space, I think it's going to really see a rebirth in a different way. Okay. The technology is showing up at the same time as the difficult procedures should be something that become of the past in that spine realm. But I think about the opportunities that are out there for so many of these big companies, whether they're spinning out a spine business or spinning out an ortho business. We're going to keep seeing more of that. The market's reinventing itself, even if it's in the form of take for Exactech, okay, company that's been around for a long, long time, and now they've rebranded, and that new focus that they may have. I'm looking to see who are the up and comers that are just sort of kind of tired of sitting by and being that other 20% of the market. And I know there's several out there that have got a bead on getting serious about acquisition mode.
Well, that brings up my next question is, do you see the return of the mid-cap companies getting into the M&A game, and B, somewhat related, do you see private equity, who's been very active in acquiring contract manufacturers in our space? Do we see a private equity play where they roll up a couple of different segments, put together a company that can go out and then compete with some of the big boys?
Yeah, I do. The question is going to be, so first off, the mid-cap players, I think, whether it be spine, ortho, sports med, whatever, I think that for the first time in a while, that they are going to garner more attention than they have in their actions and their strategies as they continue to step forward. They know that the bigger organizations, although they've got resources beyond measure, at the same time, they can act and react so much faster to market shifts, market trends, going where the puck is, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty bullish about the guys that are the smaller ones that have a total desire to be the big ones. It's the tier threes trying to become the tier twos, and the tier twos trying to become the tier ones. And I think there's a lot of share out there for the taking just because of that alone.
Yeah.
When it comes to the PEs, I feel like there's definitively a spot for them to participate if they're rolling up these things wisely. I think that's going to be a key, is understanding the direction the market is going, so that if you're picking off this company, let's say that you picked up in 24, and this company you picked up in 25, and this one in 26, is the amalgamation of all that actually going to make sense for the new trend in 2028? And that's why there's got to be such a long-term strategy and a true understanding of wisdom and discernment in this process for any of the PEs. It's not just the plug it together like you have in the past, and here's your nice new thing. You're having to plug together things that, because of technological advancement, you might have the wrong setup by the time that you would expect for this thing to go big. I mean, that's a strong potential. So I'm bullish about the PE's participation, because once again, they're a critical portion of the ecosystem to make everything move the way it needs to.
Yeah.
The big unknown is, what will technology look like in just as short as 18 months?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
I think that's something that we should all be doing everything that we can to study and to understand and to really appreciate, so that, even at the risk of reputation, put your opinion out there about what you see and base it on fact, and then make sure everybody's aware of it.
Yeah.
Don't just react to what's happened to us. Let's start thinking forward in that manner.
Yeah. 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 I've long hypothesized that there is a place in the world for a company whose focus is, and this would require a PE roll up, I think, whose focus is to manage the geriatric fracture, hip fractures, pelvic fractures, periprosthetic fractures, wrist, shoulder fractures. If you look at just healthcare data, I'm not sure what the exact percentages, but a super high percentage of our healthcare spend is to treat, the older and infirmed and elderly patient. And what do they have? They often have musculoskeletal injuries, and every company has bits and pieces.
Yeah,
they're fine. They're usually, try to be technologies and products that can work everywhere.
Yeah,
I would love to see a company say, we're the geriatric orthopedic company. We're starting to see fellowships in geriatric fracture management, because the flood of periprosthetic fractures is going through the roof. The modern day implant materials are just so good. They don't wear out like they used to, Chris, when you and I were doing total joints back in the 90s and early 2000s. The materials are awesome. The technologies to put them in make them almost flawless.
Yep.
So how do they fail? Well, the bone fails around them.
Exactly.
People are playing around with those things, but nobody's kind of focused on that. And I would love to see a private equity company come in and pick off a few small companies, put them together, say, look, we're going to be the company that takes care of grandma.
I like that.
And grandpa when he or she falls. We'll see.
Are you talking about
a hot take?
Are you talking about us?
Well, we're grandpas, but we're not quite elderly yet. Although after playing tennis this weekend, I'm a little sore. All right, last one. What do you think is the big hot segment? Usually what we've seen historically in musculoskeletal is everybody's excited about a segment. So years back, it was extremities. And then it was soft tissue, right? And then it was interventional spine. What do you see in the next year that's going to be the quote unquote hot segment. Everybody's going to be competing for startups in this space. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm going to have to pick two. I think the incoming of the interventional spine element of things and how this is going to influence the industry, whether the industry wants it or not. Okay, it's coming. I mean, I'd never been to the Aspen meeting. I went this year, and it felt like the energy of what these meetings gone by that we used to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was that heavy in terms of the fire that you could feel there. The second thing would be, I still got to keep my bet on sports med because there's still improvement on top of improvement that is coming for many, many different types of procedures, whether it be shoulder, whether it be knee, and things of that nature. I'm not going to say anything relative to AI because AI is going to influence everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's the catch-all, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have impact here and there and here and there. So it's going to be touching every segment of MSK. But I would say those two, the change in the spine industry, the incoming of the interventionalist, those two things together, what does it look like now? And the continuance of sports med. I feel like I'm not saying foot and ankle's taking a back seat, but I'm saying that there's enough solutions that have been brought to the table. There's going to be more. There's still going to be more. But it's like you start getting to that segment to where it's not just about the technique now or the implant style or the geometry of the implant, but now we're talking about materials again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about approaches. And so when you start getting into that, you're starting to realize that a segment is starting to mature at the present state. Heck, we all thought shoulders was mature in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's been a total resurrection of shoulders again 30 years later.
Yeah. A lot of robots in shoulders too now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. What do you think?
Gosh, I think, we're going to continue to follow on your spine comment, a migration to the ASC,
Mm-hmm.
and I think those two things go together. More early intervention type procedures lend themselves beautifully to the ASC.
Yep.
So I think you're going to continue to see that. And I think the construction of ASCs and the staffing of ASCs has been the bottleneck. And I think we'll see that start to catch up.
Yeah.
Companies will have the opportunity to differentiate themselves in that space and compete for, those ORs, frankly.
Yep.
Whether it be spine or sports or joints.
Yeah. I'd love to see that CMS actually catches up and starts understanding that the same procedures that are happening in the ASC are the same ones that are happening in the hospital and that reimbursement should be on par.
Yeah.
It's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's not.
And it also opens up, I think it also opens up better commercial opportunities for the smaller, medium-sized companies because the ASCs may not be subject to GPOs and IDNs the way that hospitals are. And so creates a more competitive playing field for, smaller companies who are bringing new technology to market, which I think we both love. Because,
yes. And it's an absolute necessity. I mean, for encouragement of all the different startups, you got to go beyond being a startup and become a keep going. And I think it's critical because at the end of the day, these technologies are going to be more in demand than ever, faster. Okay. I don't see a season when there's ever going to be a time that startups would be unnecessary because everything that's happening in the market that's where all the action happens.
Well, that's an interesting point, Chris, that I would also add in my comment, which is because of AI, will we see companies hire fewer people? And if that is the case, will we see, I've heard some other podcasters say that, hypothesize that companies are going to hire less, so there's more opportunities for startup founders to create something new.
Yep.
So go out and build something new. Now that may not be in our space because it usually requires some gray hair and some experience to build a medical device. It's it's good. It's good to spend some time in a med device company before you decide to go out and build your own. It's not like a, software type company, but, is there, because people have to go do something, and maybe the AI is going to allow big companies, medium-sized companies to trim some headcount, save some money. And so some talent will be on the street. And so talent tends to bring their ideas.
Yeah.
My last take would be, if you are, unfortunately, Rift, look, it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
Listen, it's a blessing in disguise. I think there's more people out there that will say that than not.
Yeah.
Droves of them. And the amazing things that have been created by being set free.
Yeah. Yeah. So we would encourage you to go out and build stuff. Let's just build stuff.
This is build stuff.
Yeah.
But make sure there's a need first, please.
For sure. For sure. Well, all right. This has been another amazing episode. The MedTech Jam Session.
I can't do this anymore like we did back in the day. The neck doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah. I hurt my neck playing MedTech Jam Session with Chris and Mike D.
Everybody, pop.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Check us out wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got a great lineup coming up in the next weeks and months. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the other side.
Peace out, Mike D.
Be good and rep your hood.